We're now in Dcad lesson 13I, and we're continuing with drawing organization and sheet notes. Now, one thing that I've noticed here is sometimes that you go back and look at the drawings and realize, well, you left something out or something additional information that you needed to provide. So I'm going to hit Z for zoom here, and we're looking at A2 still, our second drawing sheet, and zoom up a little closer to our sheet notes here. And actually, it was my intent to have R49 ceiling insulation, 5/8 sheetrock on the ceiling, R21 wall insulation, and 1/2-inch gypboard sheetrock on the walls. And when we scroll down here to our section drawing, we don't have any of that stuff, so it just inadvertently got left out. So, and the other issue that we have is that our section drawing now is at 3/8 scale, so that gets a little complex, and putting all the insulation in and all that stuff. So, and we also want to keep our working drawing updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Control W to zoom on out. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to place these items in our actual working drawing and import them, enlarge them and import them into our section drawing here. So I'm going to open up our working drawing and our W1 drawing, and I'm going to hit L for layers, and I'm going to scroll on down to, actually let me just use the filter here and just have active and name layers only up. It just really helps hide a whole bunch of stuff that you don't need that's kind of in the way. And I want layer 75, which is my section drawing, to be current and active. I'm going to hide all other layers, and I'm also going to want to have both text, which I won't be using at this point in time, but the insulation layer for section 8 up also. So right now, first and foremost, I'm going to be dealing with a section. I'm going to draw on the gypboard. So I'm going to click OK, Control W. You can see our section drawing out here. Now I'm going over here to the working plane properties and clicking that guy, and I want to actually to our right side to be up. So I'm going to click on that. Click Set as Active Working Plane, hit Control W, and here's our section drawing right side up. I'm going to zoom up to that guy, and I'm in layer 75. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and deal with the sheetrock, and then I'll deal with the insulation requirements. So this is really pretty straightforward and really a pretty simple way to do it. One of the things I'm going to do is to make life easier is I'm going to select a nice bright color of red so that the new stuff that we're importing will be a different color, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. This makes life easier in selection realms. So I'm going to click on this bottom of the bottom quarter of the truss and hit F2. That's the parallel by distance. I'm going to hit Tab, and I'm going to type 0.625 inches, which is 5/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to click down below it and click again, and there's our ceiling sheetrock. You can see it's running past where we really want it to go, but I'll deal with that in a moment. Hit Escape, and then I'm going to click on this wall and hit F2, and I'm going to hit Tab, 0.5 inches, because our wall gypboard is only 1/2 inch. And click on to the left of it, inside, hit Escape, and then I'm going to hit Z here, so I can zoom up on the header for the garage door. And this one, because there's a lot going on there. It's a group, so I'm not going to use that for parallel by distance. What I'm going to do instead is hit Escape, and I'm going to go to this upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to hit V for Vector, Gravity Move with the comma key, and then Point Relative, and 0.5 inches, and hit Enter, and I'm just going to hit H to toggle on to orthogonal mode, come on down, and just right-click there, and right-click there. And so now we have our 1/2 inch there. I'm going to hit go out of orthogonal mode and hit Shift E, which will trim these two lines to each other. Now I'm going to zoom over to the other side here and hit Shift E to trim these two red lines to each other. And I'm going to scroll on out, and now you can see that we have our sheetrock lines, all decked out, and they're red, so they stand out really pretty well. So now we need to draw our insulation, and along with our insulation, we also want to draw in some our sand, 2 inches of sand, gravel, and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit L for layers, and I'm going down to my insulation layer, which is layer 77. I'm making that my current active layer, and clicking OK. So now I'm going to zoom up here, and I'm going to hit Control F9, and in my symbols, I'm in my load symbol dialog here. I'm going to go up to the actual symbols folder, and I'm going to click on the insulation. Double click that, and I'm just going to use insulation 1, and click open. And that's going to be my ceiling insulation right now. And you notice up here in the upper left-hand corner, use original scale. I want to unclick that because I want to be able to control the size of this insulation, actually the thickness of it. So I'm going to hit right here. I'm just going to hit K to snap to the actually top of my ceiling sheetrock or bottom edge of my lower truss cord. Hit K. I'll get a little closer there where it works. Oh, I guess I got to actually be in the drawing here. Click K, and then I'm going to hit point relative, 0 on the X, and then 1 for 12 inches up. And so here's my symbol for the insulation. Now what I want to do with that is I'm going to call up my info box, and I want, and it actually it's showing it as being red at this point in time. So, but it's not. So I'm going to click on that guy and see if I can actually make it red. Nope, because it's a symbol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode the symbol, and now I can turn it red. See? Okay, so the only other insulation that I have to do at this point in time is the wall insulation, and it's on this back wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up on this rear wall. I'm going to hit Control F9, and that takes me right back to my previous symbols folder that I was in, and I'm going to use insulation 1 again. And double click, and again I'm making sure that the use original scale is not checked. So on this one I want to get close to the outside wall here and just hit K, and then use the point relative, and I want minus 5.5 inches. Hit tab and 0 on the Y, and that didn't quite work. Let me try that again. Hit K to snap to that line. There we go. And now I've already have my 5.5 inches. I'm going to just click on that. And it's still not working. Okay. So I'm going to try this one more time. I'm not sure why it's not working, but hit K. Oops. Control F9. And hit K. Okay, there we go. And now I want, oh, I know why. Minus 5.5 inches, it should go over there. There we are. And now I want that to turn red also. So I'm going to explode that symbol, and I'm going to go up here to apply color, color apply to selection, and click on that. So that turns that one red also. So now I'm zooming out a little bit. I'm not sure why that wasn't wanting to work, but it finally got along with us. Okay, so now we have our ceiling insulation and wall insulation plus our sheetrock, and they're all red at this point in time. So now what I want to do is I want to show foundation drainage. So I'm going to hit Control F9 and go back up, and then go scroll down to Symbols, to Sim, and double click that. And I'm going to look for footing drain. See if I can find that. It should be alphanumeric. Go down to the F and scroll down a little bit more. Footing. It looks like footing drain. Footing drain. Let's see. Click on that one. That looks like what we're after. Open. And just right click and get it over here. And this is one of my pre-canned symbols. We don't need the notes there because that's going to be dealt with in our sheet notes anyway. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just explode this and get rid of all this text. And what I want to do is this footing drain and the gravel that it's wrapped in, I'm just going to select it. I'm going to hit Z for zoom, and I'm going to set a handle here at this lower right corner. Scroll back out, scoot over here, and I'm going to mirror and just place it down here to the right, lower right edge of that footing. And then I can just hit delete. I don't need to show it on the other side necessarily. So now you can see that we have our actual foundation drainage and gravel rock and all of that. So now I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up here and click on the bottom edge of our slab. And what I want to do is I'm just going to make another line that's 2 inches below that, which represents the line between our sand base and our gravel base, and also is where we're going to place our moisture barrier, or visqueen. So I'm going to hit F2 for parallel by distance, hit Tab, and I'm going to type in 2 inches. And also, you can see that selected entities only is checked, so I'm just going to click down below that and click one more time and hit escape. And here's our line there. I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up on this more closely, move my info box out of the way, and I'm just going to hit E to take this over to the footing, and E to trim it over to this footing. And so this line, I'm going to hit Control R to just redraw. I'm going to break this line up, just kind of move it around a little bit so that it looks more like actual soil. Basically, it's 2 inches, but just by adding points and breaking the line up, it makes it look a little more natural, like it's actually having to do with a grade. So only takes a second to do this, and just roughs it up just a little bit. And right here, and one in there, and that's probably good enough. So now I'm going to want to place some sand in here. So in order to do that, that's basically going to be hatching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the hatch command, which is Shift pound, or Shift 3. And it doesn't matter. I'm going to change, what the hatching is right now. I'm going to change it a little bit, but I'm just going to right-click here and right-click here and come on down a little ways here, and K to the line, then maybe come over here a little bit, and then over here, and then just try to find my additional points. Oop, escape, and then hit enter, and there's my hatching. So now what we have here is this is going to be our sand area. What we have next is our 6-inch gravel base. So I'm going to just click on this line and hit F2, hit Tab, and 0.5 feet, which is 6 inches, and hit enter, and just do a parallel line 6 inches down from that, and hit escape. And I'm going to just take this on over to like so, and hit K, and take this on over to like so, and hit K. Now we'll be removing this line because this is basically just showing the gravel base, but I want to go ahead and put some hatching in there to show these things. So it's going to be easier if I just highlight both of these so we can see where our points actually are. And I'm going to hit the hatch command again, which is Shift 3, or the pound sign, and I'm right-clicking on each one of these points. And it doesn't have to go all the way, just sort of like so, and so, and so. And I'm hatching that too. Okay, so this line I can now get rid of, and we're gonna change our hatching. So this hatching, this sand, we want to be a different hatch. So I'm gonna here's where we find the names, and I'm gonna scroll on down and see if I can find something that looks like sand. It's on down quite a ways, I believe. Just have to scroll on down. Sand and mud, I don't think that's right. Stippling, I think is what we're after here. And let's try that. Yeah, it looks like sand to me. Let's try stipple too, see if that looks more dense. Oh yeah. Okay, so we've selected that, and we'll click on it, and that, boy, that's really dense. So that's way tighter than we want. So I'm going to reselect that, and we're going to change our scale. Let's try 0.1. Or let's try 0.2 and see how that looks. That's better. Sort of looks like sand. So our other one, we want to be gravel or rocks. So I'm right-clicking on it, going back to our hatch name, and I'm going to go on down to, let's see, I'm trying to remember where the rocks and all that kind of stuff is. Bricks, concrete, maybe it's concrete. Let's try concrete. No, I don't think so. That's not bad. Concrete 2, concrete 3, concrete 4. Let's see if we can find something better. We can always come back up to concrete if we need to use that. I was pretty sure I had some rocks. Let's see, rocks there. Nah, that's not right. Rocky earth. Oh, there you go. Okay, that'll work. So let's just click on that, and that's really too tight also, so we're going to change the scale of that one. And I'm going to select it. Really pretty dense. And this one I'm going to just try, let's try 0.5. Let's try that, see if that works. Just taking a guess here. Not bad. Okay, so now we have our sand layer and we have our rocks layer, but we also need an earth layer. So, and also we're going to have a concrete apron here, so I'm going to go ahead and actually go back. I'll just leave it in 77 right now, but I'm going to hit F2 and tab, and we want 4 inches. Okay, and then E to here, and I want this to be the same, so I'm just going to click on that one to use the same as command. And normally we would have also have our sand and gravel out here also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my foundation drainage along here also. So this whole guy, I'm just going to copy it and put my handle down here, this corner, scroll over here, and I'm going to use the slash, which is the mirror command. Right click there and just hit zoom here, and you can see we have a little conflict here with, we want to get down to our slab, bottom of our slab, so we just move these viewpoints and we're good to go. So now we have that on both areas. I'm going to draw additional sand, and actually this needs to be in layer 75 because that's part of our flat work. And so I'm going to just do a little more hatching here and show a little bit of sand and a little bit of gravel, and then we can show our earth. So I'm going to hit Shift 3, which is the pound sign, which is also hatching. Hit K, just go up into here and kind of click on some of these guys down about 2 inches or so and show the 2 inches of hatching. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing again and do the 6 inches of hatching. Oops. Got to get a little lower there. Okay, so this one I'm going to use the same as command, just like our other rocks. And this one I'm going to use the same as command as our sand. We don't need a moisture barrier under that because it's exterior. So the final hatching I'm going to do is going to be the earth. So we're just going to do, just want to show a little bit of the earth there. So, and actually these two lines here should be the same as this footing line. And I'm just now catching this. Zooming up on this, and this line, and this line should be the same as this line. And so should this one, actually. Should be the same as it also. Okay, so actually all of our sections should be that depth, and we'll take care of that in just a little bit. I'm hitting Z for zoom, and coming up to this area, and we want to show some earth, so I'm going to use the hatching one more time, which is Shift 3, or the pound sign, and I'm just going to draw some earth, hitting these other points here. You can always use the K when you need to also. And just kind of zoom out here and just do this earth shape, for lack of a better term. Okay, I'm just hatching that, and so now I can select that, and I'm going to change that to earth. And we want it at a 45, and that's way too small though. So let's make that let's try 8. See how that looks. So that's way too big. So let's try 0.4. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty close once we zoom on out. I'm going to maybe make it 0.3. Again, we can always change it later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select layer 75, L, and I'm going to click on 75, right click, and go down to select highlighted layers, and click OK. I'm going to hit Control W, because we don't want, and I'm going to hold down Shift and unselect these guys up here, and zoom up on my section drawing and unselect the dashed line for the rebar there. But everything else is selected, and now I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up on this footing area and use the same as and make them all like this. Control W. So now we can zoom up on this and see that we have the actual line weight we want. When we enlarge this 1.5 times per 3/8 inch scale, these lines are going to seem actually smaller. So now we've done all of our insulation, our gypboard, and sand and gravel and all that for our section AA drawing. I'm going to hit Z for zoom. And one of the things I noticed is that that because the sheetrock was in layer 75, it got changed too. So, but that's okay. I'm going to just select the sheetrock and apply the color to it because I want red. And all these guys, I'm going to hit Z for zoom, and this I want red, and this, that's already red. This I want red, and this I want red. Oops. Trying to get that. Hit enter. There we go. And see it's blue now, and I'm going to change that to red. Then I'm going to go over to the other side and select the same stuff. And the reason I'm using red is that it's going to make it a lot easier to import all this stuff and not the other stuff. So that's blue. I'm going to change that to red. And then click in the middle of this and change that to red. Now I can hit Control W. And so now what I can do is I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up on this section drawing. And now what I can do is I can select just the red items. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a selection filter over here, and you can see the color red. I'm going to click on that and add that to the right hand side, and what that does is it filters the selection so that it's only going to select red items. So watch. I'm going to use the rectangular selection tool, and you can see that and now I can go ahead and go into my selection filter and remove and close, and you can see that all of my red items are selected, and only those items are selected. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set a handle at the actual ridge of our section drawing here. So I'm going over here to set selection handle, clicking on that, and then right clicking to the ridge here. And then I'm hitting my scroll button to initiate the command. And so now we have the items that we want to import into our A2 drawing selected. They're not the color we want, but that's okay because we can change that color right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on black. I'm going to apply to selection. So now you can see here in the info box that all these items are selected and they're now black. Now the other thing we got to do is we have to enlarge them 1.5 times, and the reason is that our drawing in our A2 is at 3/8 inch scale, which is 1.5 times 1/4 inch scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to selection zoom, and I'm going to hit tab and type in 1.5. Hit enter, and so actually I'm going to undo that. Control Z, because I want to save this drawing. So now I'm going to go back and set selection zoom and type 1.5, enter, go to my window and click on the A2 drawing, hit Z for zoom and zoom up here, and Control V. Ooh, you know what I did? Go back to the working drawing, hit Control C to copy it to the clipboard. That's important. And go back to the A2 drawing and hit Control V and right click and scroll on out and go to layers and click so that we can also see the insulation layer, and click OK. And you can see what happened here is this imported all these things perfectly into our section drawing. I'm going to hit Z for zoom so we can zoom up on this footing and see the gravel and the sand and the earth, which we'll be pointing out with our sheet notes. So that's how we can go after the fact and place items that we may have spaced out on, that didn't include in the drawing, and insert them after the fact, even if they're at a different scale. And once again, it's important that we're keeping our working drawing updated. So I'm going to save this drawing now, and this concludes Dcad lesson 13I, still continuing with drawing organization and sheet notes.